Indeed, there is only love. And these are interesting times we live in. It makes it somewhat challenging to remember that there's only love when we see significant evidence that would have us believe to the contrary. Today's talk, Turning Love Inside Out, is really one of self-examination. Because, and I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it until we shift it, is that we in New Thought, and even our own version of New Thought, of Science of Mind, have a tendency towards spiritual bypass. And that was never what Ernest Holmes taught, and it was never his intention. His intention was not to teach us to gloss over what is right in front of our face and pretend that it doesn't exist. What he actually teaches us is to stand in the middle of that, look it in the eye, and know the truth of it behind the appearance. And that is a very different matter altogether than it's all good, it's all good, without actually standing toe-to-toe with it. One of the things that Ernest was popular in saying is look a fact in the face and call it a liar. And how do we do that? I'll tell you more about what Spirit gave me to do with that later on. Saying that to remind myself. Here's what I want everybody in this room to know, and everybody listening to the recording. You are amazing. Unequivocally, despite any choice you have ever made, despite the consequence of any action you have ever engaged in, you are perfect. The essence of you is pure love. Everybody take that in. Because we cannot act our way out of that. We can't. We cannot misbehave so badly that we're no longer that. And why do I start with us? Because nobody else can misbehave so badly that they're not that either. No matter what we see another person do, no matter what behavior they engage in, they cannot diminish the essence of their being. On the flip side, no matter what behavior we engage in, no matter what altruistic things we do, no matter how much money we pour into the great cause, we can't add anything to our essence either. Because that's the nature of perfection. You can't take anything away. You can't add anything. It's all there to start with. Now, this is one of those moments where y'all might think, I've skipped a brain cell or two, and that's always possible. But we're fooled by this body that we think we actually exist in this time and space. And the truth of the matter is, if life is eternal, which we teach that it is, and I personally believe that it is then everybody sitting here has always existed. Always. You existed before you ever knew anything about time. You have existed from the beginning of whatever it is existed. And that's before the Big Bang, because the Big Bang had to come out of something. And we have yet to be able to figure out scientifically what happened before, what was there before the Big Bang. We know there had to be something because the Big Bang didn't come out of nowhere. But we don't know what it is. But what I do know is that we all existed in it. And so we exist now, and we will continue to exist after we're done with these containers. In that perfection. And so to get stuck in the appearance is to say, I don't believe that. Now that may not be what we mean to be saying, but it's kind of what we're saying. That what I believe in is this. I don't know about you, but I need something bigger to believe in than this. Because if this is all there is, the situation is worse than I thought. Got a couple folks to... If you're not familiar with Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, I highly encourage you to make friends with him. One of the things that Howard Thurman says, hate tends to dry up the springs of creative thought in the life of the hater, so that his resourcefulness becomes completely focused on the negative aspects of his environment. It's easy to focus on the hater. It's not so easy to recognize that if when I focus on the hater, I have hate for the hater, I am a hater. Hate is hate. Doesn't matter what form it comes in. There is no such thing that I know of as righteous hatred. But we sure like to think there is. It's hate. How do we free ourselves? Because there is this human, very human structure in us that when we see somebody or a group of people being harmed, we become angry. That's a normal, visceral human response. Anger happens when we see harm happening and we want it to stop. That's not hate. That's anger. So if we use that anger just like crude oil, you can't put crude oil in your car and have it go bud, 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 bud anymore. It will just go, not running now. So if we act from hate, from anger, without refining it, guess what happens? We're very ineffective. If we take that anger, that normal human information, it's just information. It's just your biology telling you something's happening here that doesn't work for me. Take it inside. Take it into the refinery. Take it into love. Transform it into fuel and act from love, not from anger. Act from the fuel of anger turned into love. Hate happens when we just want to hurt people. That's what hatred is. Hatred doesn't have a thing to do with anger. It doesn't have a thing to do with stopping somebody being hurt. Hatred is, I want to hurt someone. Period. For my own pleasure, for my own agenda. I share that with you so that you can know the difference inside of you. Are you angry or are you hating? Take it into the same refinery with honesty. You don't need to go tell, man, I'm so bad, I hate people and I didn't know I hated God. It's not about anybody else. It's about you transforming you. Because if it's true that there's only one, then as I transform me, I transform the one. We're not changing divinity. What we're doing is waking up to its presence in us. We're not making a deal with something outside of ourselves to fix us. We ain't broke. You're human. Human ain't broke. It's just human. And what would it be like if we embraced our humanness? If we loved our humanness? How much more sane would we be individually? How much more loving would we be individually? If I spent all of my time evaluating me, holding me accountable to stand in the truth of what I am. Another one of my mentors that I spend lots of time with is Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl is a survivor of the Holocaust and wrote an amazing book called Man's Search for Meaning. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts, comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing: the last of the human freedoms, the choice to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Now, I was preparing for this talk and reading that, and sometimes I think that there are techno gremlins, and sometimes I think there are techno angels. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. So I'm sitting there reading that, preparing for my talk, which I do on my computer, and a video started playing. Now, I don't know quite how that happened, other than I had a window open and it just started. And it was a video of Christopher Cantwell, who was one of the head folks in the march in Charlottesville. And it was a video where Christopher was talking about how afraid he was now, because he had learned that there was a warrant out for his arrest, and that he was afraid the police were going to kill him. And I initially had a rapid string of very unholy thoughts. I ain't gonna lie. And I sat with it, and I played it again. Part of what Mr. Cantwell did was put his phone number. He spoke his phone number onto the video, inviting the police to call him. And if he could verify that they were in fact the police, he would surrender himself. And what came alive in me was to call Mr. Cantwell, offer to have a conversation, and offer to pray with him. And right behind that came, is there someone else I can talk to, please? I hear the call, and are you kidding me? Hello, God. Trans man married to a black woman. Really, do you have the right number? See, I'm like, okay, if I block my number, I could do this. If I don't identify myself, maybe I can do this. Maybe I'll change my whole Facebook page so there's no way you can come back in. Because I had some very real human stuff come up. And it wouldn't go away. It wouldn't go away. And so I prayed. Like I haven't prayed in a really long time. And I dialed the number. And I ain't gonna lie, I was relieved when it went to voicemail. And I left a message telling him who I was, telling him how magnificent he is, and that he is unequivocally one with all. And then I left a prayer. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with that. But what I know is if he listens to his messages, he can't unhear it. He can't unhear it. And I can't not have that experience that I had. It grew me in a way that surprised me. Ernest Holmes says this, and I want to do a ritual with all of us. One of the things that Ernest says is, when he's talking about the connection, refuse to see the negative side of anyone. Refuse to let yourself misunderstand or be misunderstood. Know that everyone wants you to have the best. Affirm this everywhere you go. And then he does this meditation. God in me is unified with God in all. There is one, this one is now drawing into my life all love and fellowship. I am one with all people, with all things, with all life. As I listen in the silence, the voice of all humanity speaks to me and answers the love that I hold out to it. The voice of all humanity from the beginning of time. All humanity. Not just the folks we see, not just the ones that show up on our TV. All humanity. Love is the essence of all humanity because it's the only thing there is. And it's you. Now, we got stuff. We've created this mental steeplechase between us and love. So this morning, we're going to do a little ritual to get rid of our barriers. So Joanne is going to be giving everybody one little piece of paper. And you can do this one of two ways. You can simply hold it and infuse it with everything you want to let go of. Every barrier that exists between you and the love that is the truth of your being. Because that's just true. You are love in form. So you can do that, or you can write it down. It's a little piece of paper, so choose keywords. You can't write a book unless you write. And then what we're going to do is one at a time, bring them up to the bowl and simply say, bye-bye, or I release, or gone now, whatever works for you. But when you put it here, you're letting it go. Okay. Now, in all fairness, when we let things go, whatever that is holding back, now has movement. So when we let go of those barriers, love starts flowing. So just know that you are subjecting yourself to an influx of unrestricted love by removing these barriers. If you don't want that, I can honor that. I don't get it, but I'll honor it. You get to be who you are. And so as you get your paper and are complete with it, just come on up and drop it off, and then we're going to do something really amazing with all of those pieces of paper. to truly release all this stuff. And while this is happening, okay, what I'm being called to do is open it up if anybody has any questions about this process or about what's happening or about your role in it. I'll just stay in the silence and allow for those or the silence while we do this. I see some of you folding the paper up. I'm going to ask you to leave it open for me. It's an important part for the ritual. Nobody's going to look at it but you. It'll make sense shortly, I promise. So if you're complete with yours, I invite you to just come up and whatever is alive in you, I release this to the transformative power of the divine. I want to give a special thanks to this man right here. I was down in SoCal last week speaking and had to actually deal with the mute and unmute on my own microphone and realized just how blessed and spoiled I am. Okay, so we all put our focus right here and really be with everything in here. and know that we live within and that we are transformation. That's the nature of our being, because that's the nature of love. Come on. I'll wait. And so, when these are transformed, they're gone. They're gone. So if you reach back for these ideas, know that you're not reaching back for an idea. You're creating a new one that looks similar to the one you let go of. But the one you let go of is gone. So if you want to block your love, you have to be intentional and conscious about it. Okay. And so what I know to be true, and I invite you to keep your eyes open during this prayer. What I know to be true is that there is one life, and that it is the life of each and every one of us. And this life expresses itself magnificently, perfectly, as each and every one of you. That on the other side of everything that is in this container, on the other side of every ouch, is an amazing hallelujah. And so we step fully into that hallelujah in this moment. We transform ourselves individually and as a community and as the world, right here, right now. For that I am grateful. So I release it and everything here to the law of transformation. See, you better do that. Bye-bye. Is that not cool?
Do you put magic in there?
It's actually, in full disclosure, it is magic paper.
Okay.
You can actually get it at hobby shops and magic shops. You can actually hold it in your hand and hold it over a flame and it'll go and you won't get burned. It's very cool stuff. So you can go get some, and whenever you got stuff you want to poof right on out, have at it. I use it frequently. Not only that, the little kid in me just likes going, how cool is that?
Fire! Fire!
But it's symbolic.
Yes.
How much time it takes to get ready to release something is very long compared to the amount of time it actually takes.
Absolutely. Did everybody hear that? That the ritual is symbolic of the time it takes to accumulate and hold on to the blocks, and how much more time it takes to do that than it does to release it. The release is instant. It's getting ready to release it. It's the journey. So be patient with yourselves. Be loving with yourselves.